Welcome, welcome, welcome to Thriving Through Midlife. It is my pleasure to welcome you. My name is Tammy Fleming. I'm here in Kyiv, Ukraine. My building is still standing. That's really good news.
Man.
And we want to welcome you to our webinar for equipping women 40 and over for the season of perimenopause and menopause. These natural transitions mark significant stages in every woman's life. Perimenopause being the gradual phase leading up to the end of menstruation, and menopause the point when menstrual cycles have ceased for 12 consecutive months. Yes. Can I just say?
Please say yes.
There is life, there is hope. It's very encouraging when you hit that. I can say from experience, I've been in menopause for almost 20 years already.
Oh, wow.
So I'm a veteran. Though this time can bring real challenges, physical, emotional, and spiritual, it also offers a profound invitation for us to grow. So during our time together, during our sessions tonight on body, mind, and heart, we will explore a little bit how these changes touch every part of our being. Aging is inevitable, and midlife can be an enriching, enlightening, and empowering season, a time to deepen self-awareness, to learn new ways of caring for ourselves and others. It can be an opportunity to set ourselves up to mature with resilience, wisdom, insight, and strength. So welcome everyone, wherever you're from. Let's take a second right now. Everybody can unmute and just say hi. Just say
Hello.
hi. Hey,
Hi.
welcome
Hey,
wherever you
everyone.
are.
Welcome.
Good to have you.
Hi, Tammy.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you
Hey,
so much for
Mel.
tuning in. We super
Wow.
appreciate you coming.
Lots of people.
Yay, lots of people. Great.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, Beverly.
Jackie, you look great.
So good to have you
Jackie.
all.
She does.
How many Jackies are there?
I mean you. I don't
You.
know.
He's
I'm
talking
sure
about
Jackie,
you.
Jackie
Thank
looks
you.
great.
Jackie Frimpong.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Great. Okay,
And
we'll let you
UK.
all remute and
Okay.
and now I would love to introduce our program. I want to introduce to you Dora Anyi, who is right now on the pin that I can see. And Dora is a wonderful woman in the East London Church of Christ whose idea this wonderful evening was. And so we're going to ask Dora to pray for us in just a second. But I first want to tell you a little bit of what we're going to do tonight. So we have prepared for you a little bit of fun. We have some fun videos to watch, a little lighthearted introduction for us. And then we will hear 3 10-minute presentations from a medical doctor, from a mental health professional, and from a grief recovery specialist. And then we will have 10 minutes, 10 golden minutes to just chat together in breakout rooms in pairs. And then we'll wrap up with a 30-minute question and answer with a panel of credentialed professionals to answer your questions. So that's our plan. And I'm going to let Dora start us off with a prayer and welcome everyone, since this was her wonderful idea. And then I'll introduce our speakers and we'll get going. Dora,
All
up
right.
to you.
Okay, everyone. Thank you for coming on again. Let's commit the evening to God in prayer. Most merciful Father, we just want to say thank you. Thank you. It might have been an idea that you planted on my heart, but this is all about you. You really do want us as women to live life to the full throughout our days on earth. Thank you so much for all the women who are on tonight. Father, be with each and every one of them. Be with the speakers, those sharing, those who are part of the panel. Give them your wisdom. Thank you so much just for your love for us as women. We ask all these things. It's in Jesus' name. Amen.
Great, thank you. Okay, I am really encouraged to introduce our speakers tonight. My sister, Sloan Karver, who is first up. It happens to be her birthday today. So happy birthday,
Ooh,
Sloan. It's
happy
great to have you.
birthday.
Thank
Yay.
you.
So she is kicking us off, and she is a medical doctor in Florida, USA. She will be sharing about body. She's been a practicing physician for more than 40 years with training in both family practice and end-of-life care. Throughout her career, she has been especially passionate about women's health and palliative care, and it is one of the greatest joys of my life to have discovered her only 4 years ago as my wonderful elder half sister. What a privilege. Sloan, can't wait to have you, and thank you for being here on your birthday. Then we have Ivy Harleston, who is from London, UK. She will be presenting on the mind aspect, mental health aspect of this season of life. She is a specialist support practitioner with the charity Jigsaw for You, where she supports young people aged 11 to 24 who are struggling with challenges such as depression and anxiety. She's trained in person-centered psychodynamic and CBT approaches. And alongside her professional work as a counselor, Ivy is also navigating the realities of raising teenagers while going through perimenopause herself. Our heart is with you, Ivy. Woohoo. Giving her both personal and professional perspectives on resilience and change. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Perfect. So glad you could be with us. And then I will be your final presenter. I am a certified grief recovery method specialist. So yeah, that's me, and I'm grateful to be here. And we are just about to get into our presentations, but I promised you some fun videos.
Hello and welcome to all new and existing members of the We Do Not Care Club. I started this club for all women in perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. We are putting the world on notice that we simply just do not care much anymore. Let's go ahead and get started with today's announcements. We do not care if the medication says do not take with alcohol. We are risk takers. We do not care if we lose our train of thought in the middle of a sentence. We are tired of talking to you anyway. We do not care that allegedly a fitted sheet can be folded. It's clean, and that's what matters. We do not care if you hear us talking to ourselves and occasionally answering ourselves too. We are having a staff meeting. Leave us the hell alone. We do not care if we started a cleaning project today. We no longer want to finish the project. It will live in a pile on the floor. We do not care. We do not care if you think we look pregnant. We're just flattered that you think we are still childbearing age. We do not care if our toenails are longer on one foot than the other. That left knee doesn't bend as good. We do not care if there are socks, pens, quarters, and a brush under our sofa. What's disturbing is the fact that you are looking under our sofa. This concludes our announcements. All new and existing members, go ahead and put in the comments what we do not care about today so that we can add those to the list. Thank you.
Love it. Okay, one more. Welcome if you've just been joining us. Welcome if you're out there on Facebook Live. We are about to turn over to our first presenter, Dr. Sloan Karver, my dear sister. Let me just get you pinned. There you go. You have the floor, Sloan.
Thank you so much, Tammy. Those were great videos. They really give you a good start to a great presentation. Thank you to everyone that's attending and all the lovely birthday wishes that have come my way. So thank you. I'm really happy to be here. And I share the same sentiments as Tammy that it's been such a blessing and a warm-hearted feeling to have found each other at this late stage of our lives. So it's really been very exciting. I've been in medicine for a long time, and I remember when menopause was really not such a big title on anyone's radar. But I think with education and women's voices being heard a lot clearer, there is more interest in the practice of women's health and women's conditions, and menopause is certainly one of them. What I'd like to do is break down some of the facts of what menopause really is and what we can do to help ourselves with menopause from a medical point of view. So, the definition of menopause just really means that it's a change in hormones. Your body is producing less estrogen, and with the less estrogen, there is a production of less eggs. So, we look at patients or women who are going through this, usually between 40, excuse me, and 50 years old, but sometimes it affects women earlier. And what's very important about menopause, it's not one size fits all. Everyone is different. Just because your mother had menopause at a certain age, a lot of times doctors will ask you, what age did your mom go through menopause? It's really not any kind of exact science. So it's important to manage your own health and to know what your symptoms are. A couple of people mentioned perimenopause, and that really is the start of when you get an inkling that your body is going through the changes. And what does perimenopause look like? Well, perimenopause can last anywhere from a couple of years to 10 years, sometimes more. People have had ongoing symptoms, but you start to see your periods acting funny. They can be irregular, they can be off in terms of flow, they can be off in terms of quantity. You also can find that you're starting with hot flashes and that you're also having some mood swings. So it's very exciting that we also have a mental health professional on the call to talk about that and the challenges that you can have during your perimenopause signs. You also can have more irritability, some sleep changes, some weight gain. All of that sort of starts during the menopause period. Then once you are going into menopause, things again change, and that can be mild or severe. Some patients have a very mild case of it, don't have the length of time. In fact, I don't even remember what year I started menopause because of the blurriness of all the lines of knowing exactly when that happens. But to others, it's a very, very significant time in their lives. So they do remember it with great specificity. The symptoms, as we said, can be very similar to perimenopausal, only they're more consistent. There is, at the time of menopause, you haven't had any periods for 12 months. And that's typically when a doctor will say that you're going through menopause. I think it's important for everything that we talk about today to consult with your doctor because we all live in different parts of the world, really. And there are different practices of how these things are treated and what kind of treatments are available. I'm talking in a lot of generalities of how your body can be affected, but truly your partnership with your physician is one of the best things that you can do. Some of the changes that physicians worry about are cardiovascular disease, because with the decrease in estrogen, you're losing some of the protective factors for your heart. So you might be at higher risk for some heart and blood vessel disease. So it's a good
Are we
idea.
going shopping today? Yeah.
It's a good idea to talk to your physician about that. Another thing that's important is osteoporosis. Everyone knows that that's thinning of the bone, but estrogen is very important for bone development and bone density. So with the loss of the estrogen, we have to worry about what the bone density is. And in different countries, they have different ways of treating it. We mentioned mental health issues. With the change in hormones, it can lead, I should say, to anxiety, depression. And please, if you feel that you are going through that, it is so important to consult a mental health care professional. I once attended a conference by a psychiatrist who, and this was many, many years ago with the advent of new medications to help with depression. And he said, if I had depression, I would not leave here today without one of you helping me by writing a prescription. So I think there's a lot of bad stigma for these kinds of medications, but from my point of view, they're extremely helpful and extremely valuable. There are also there are many holistic approach medications. And depending what area you live in, some are more common than others. I would be careful with some of those approaches because sometimes they're not studied as adequately as medications. So just take those with caution. And again, try your best to get some feedback from your physician. So I'm going to stop a couple of minutes early because I unfortunately won't be on the panel. It's still almost 3 o'clock my time, and I'm working today, even though it is my birthday. So I do have to get back to work. But what a pleasure it has been to talk to you and to share some of my thoughts on menopause. I think if there's one takeaway that you have from this talk, it's the fact that this is not a one size fits all diagnosis. Everyone is different. And actually maybe I shouldn't even use the word diagnosis. It's a normal change a woman goes through in her life. But it's important that we all recognize that everyone is going to react differently. Everyone is going to respond to medications differently. If something worked for a friend of yours, it doesn't necessarily mean it will work for you.
Hey,
Thank you. And thank you
happy
to
birthday.
all. And I wish everyone a great rest of the day and good luck with those undergoing this time of their life. But you do get through and life goes on and all is good. So thank you
Yay.
again and all the best to everyone.
Thank you, Sloan. Happy birthday.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. And now Ivy Harleston is up.
Hello, hi everybody. So, thank you so much to Sloan for talking us through that, and thank you to Dora and Tammy for thinking of doing this. I really appreciate honesty and wisdom around this time because it's all so new to me. For my part, I'm going to be focusing on the mind, and particularly on how we can build and sustain resilience through the change. And to start, I want to share a little bit about my own experiences. So I'm 48 and I've been navigating perimenopause for a few years now. It's been a season of unexpected shifts, both physically, emotionally, and and spiritually, emotionally, and physically, I would say. Some days bring new experiences and new symptoms that I'm like, what is this? I wasn't prepared for out of the blue anxiety attacks, but that's something that I've been going through lately. Just anxiety attacks about nothing in particular. Nothing's triggered it. Just all of a sudden, my breathing goes a bit funny, and they just appear from nowhere. Other days, it's brain fog. And for me, that looks like a lot of you would probably have experienced this, but just losing my train of thought mid-sentence, it happens a lot. And that's why I've written down this talk pretty much word for word so that I don't risk that happening. And then there's the 3 a.m. wake ups for no obvious reason, followed by being really tired and fatigued the next day. So that kind of has a knock-on effect where I just feel very irritable. The other day, my husband was sitting next to me and he had wanted to just spend some time with me, and he had a toasted sandwich and he was chewing, and I was like, I was like, that noise. And I decided not to say anything. I just picked up my phone and quietly walked out of the room. So I think that's growth there. Because normally I'd be like, why are you chewing like that? But you know, just the irritability, I think, has really kind of taken me by surprise. The other thing that happens a lot is me walking into rooms and completely forgetting why I'm there and what I came to get. Alongside all of this, I'm raising a 16-year-old son and an 18-year-old daughter, and they're wonderful, amazing children for those of you who know them. But like many teenagers, they face their own mental health challenges. So their hormonal changes have overlapped with mine, and at times our home has really, really felt emotionally charged, with everybody kind of navigating their own storms, emotional storms at once. Interestingly, on a side note, my job as a counselor has shone a light on the fact that I have a lot of young women who come in, I'd say from maybe 13 to 18, who have got very complex relationships with their mothers, a lot of clashes. And when, you know, I probe a little bit, their mothers are in those, you know, that time of life. And, you know, I think that's a very similar thing to what's happening and what has happened in my own household. So every woman's journey through perimenopause is different. Some breeze through it and others feel like they have been caught in a storm. So I've got a few stats for you. In the UK, approximately 90% of women experience mental health issues during perimenopause and menopause. And sadly, about 1 in 10 have suicidal thoughts. These mental health issues include, as Sloan mentioned, anxiety, depression, low mood, but also feelings of worthlessness. And this can actually lead to significant problems in their personal and professional lives as well. Many women are not seeking or receiving appropriate support, with 80% not discussing the mental health impact with their partners, and over a third not seeking help at all. I've personally had my moments where my thoughts have gone to really dark places, and it's been quite scary. So we know that this isn't just about hot flushes. It's a major physiological and emotional transition, and it deserves, you know, compassion and seriousness. So resilience, what it is and what it isn't. When we talk about resilience, it's easy to imagine some kind of unshakable superwoman, but resilience isn't about pretending that we're not affected by life. Midlife is already a season that's full of transitions and challenges. And even before the hormonal changes of perimenopause arrive, it's often the time we're raising children who are navigating puberty or stepping into adulthood, while sometimes simultaneously caring for aging parents or coping with the loss of parents. So a lot of turmoil going on there. For me personally, my 40s brought the death of my older sister, which was really difficult. And then a few years after that, the death of my dad. I also had a really unexpected traumatic miscarriage and suffered a lot of anxiety, well, a worry and stress over my own children's mental health. And they were struggling with some really intense things like they don't mind me sharing, so I've asked their permission. So they were having what my daughter was having suicidal ideations, she was cutting, self-harming. My son was having some really, really intense panic attacks. So you can imagine what that time could have been like. I was also studying whilst working, and sometimes it really did feel like it was just like an endless season of stress and worry. And then that can be amplified with perimenopause. Then as a Christian woman, there's that guilt of, I'm a Christian, I shouldn't be feeling this way. You know, I've got to pray my way out of this funk kind of thing. And there, you know, there's no right way of doing this season of life. I think there are many ways of describing what resilience is, but the one that stuck out to me and felt relevant was something that I read on the internet, which I'm going to read to you. So it says, resilience refers to the ability to successfully adapt to stresses, maintaining psychological well-being in the face of adversity. It's the ability to bounce back from difficult experiences. So in short, resilience means adapting well in the face of adversity, and it's not about being unbreakable. It's about bending without snapping. And sometimes what that looks like is choosing daily and intentionally to bounce back from setbacks. I'm not saying that it's easy. And actually, sometimes there may be the odd day where we simply just can't get out of bed. Everything is just too much. And on those occasions, it's really, for me, it was never helpful to beat myself up. I just simply needed to try again the next day. And that for me can still be classified as resilience. So, what's going on in our brain? So, during perimenopause, the drop in estrogen and progesterone can change the chemistry of the brain. So, our mood regulator, serotonin, can decline, which, as Sloan was explaining to us, leads to anxiety, irritability, and low mood. So, dopamine, which drives motivation and focus, may also decrease, which creates the brain fog that we get and also the fatigue. And then there's the calming neurotransmitter GABA, which becomes less effective, and that makes us really sensitive to stress and can cause us to panic. These changes make mood swings, racing thoughts, and emotional sensitivity biologically normal. It's like, phew, I'm not losing the plot. It's normal. You might suddenly find yourself worrying constantly during this time, even if anxiety wasn't something that you struggled with before. And then also, for some of us who have already got existing mental health challenges, it can also feel harder as our resilience reserves are quite low. And then we've got the sisters and the friends and family amongst us here that struggle with, they have maybe autism or ADHD, and that can make this season be especially intense. But there is hope. So we don't navigate this alone. As a Christian woman, I understand that every chemical surge, every restless night, every anxious thought, God knows. And there's the Psalm 139, which reminds us that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And actually, I read today in the new translation, New English translation, it says in Psalm 139, "Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it." So even in seasons of hormonal upheaval, nothing surprises God about this time. He made us. And in Hebrews 4:15, he reassures us that we have a high priest who sympathizes with our weaknesses. And, it says again in that translation, this high priest of ours understands our weaknesses, for he faced all of the same testings we do, yet he did not sin. Our brains may be adjusting, but God's presence is steady, and we can always lean on him as we build resilience. So, sound mind, what can help? Like, what are some practical? So, nobody's gone into any sort of talk about HRT or anything like that, antidepressants, which again, speaking to your GPs could be very helpful. But there's a lot of things that we can do for our minds. And I'm preaching to myself here as well. I haven't got all of these down, but things like having good sleep hygiene, trying to not be waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning by not drinking coffee, like first thing, before we go to sleep. Nourishing our bodies. So for me, I've learned that vitamin D and magnesium are really helpful for me. So I try to eat foods that are rich in that. Moving my body, I haven't quite gotten there yet, but I know that obviously that boosts serotonin, which again is going to help our resilience. So another thing is also staying connected with each other. I am the kind of person that I can be very introverted. I can want to just be by myself, not always helpful. So, staying connected with others, you'll be quite surprised. A lot of people are going through what you're going through and can relate. And lastly, seeking support. So, I've spoken about the fact that suicidal thoughts can be a thing. There can be a lot of shame and guilt behind that. But what I would say is I would urge you to speak to a therapist, a counselor, your GP, if it's a persistent thing that's happening for you. And then a quick word on CBT. So CBT is a type of talk therapy, and it's seen as one of the most effective evidence-based ways to manage anxiety and mood. And it actually can help with sleep issues, hot flushes, that type of thing as well. So it focuses on the link between our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors. So just to give you a really quick example, you might think something like, something happens at work and you think, I can't cope with this deadline. That thought triggers anxiety, which then leads to us maybe snapping at someone or avoiding the task. Then this behavior reinforces the original thought, I can't cope. And the cycle continues. So what CBT helps with is spotting unhelpful thoughts, gently questioning their truth, and helping us to respond in a calmer, more constructive way. And over time, this builds emotional resilience and gives us more choice in how we react to stress. And this really echoes, I mean, CBT is not my favorite modality, but I love the fact that it echoes what scripture says, where in Romans 12:2, it says that, we need to take in Romans 12:2, it talks about us renewing our minds. And then in 2 Corinthians 10:5, it talks about taking our thoughts captive. So practical tools and God's truth together build real resilience. So lastly, there is hope beyond the storm, so I hear. So if this season does feel like a storm, you're not alone. The struggles are real, but so is God's presence. Isaiah 43:2 reminds us that when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And there are some real gifts, again, I hear, waiting on the other side. So no more periods, hallelujah, no more PMS. Greater emotional stability, more clarity, confidence in yourself, and also space to focus on what matters more. So for many women, this becomes a gentle invitation. I think, Tammy, you said something similar to this at the beginning, for us to kind of just pause, pay attention, rest, regroup. And beyond that storm, there can be real peace and joy. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share.
Yay, Ivy, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate your wonderful presentation. That was excellent. About my part is heart. We've talked about body. Thank you, Sloan, Dr. Carver. Thank you so much, Ivy, talking about mind. And I'm talking about heart. And before I get into it, I just wanted to share with you all a little bit about how I discovered I was in the season of perimenopause. For me, it started early at 38 when I had my tubes tied during a cesarean section. And it didn't occur to me that that would trigger the menopausal season. So I was not thinking that this might be happening to me. I had no idea what was going on with me. I felt like I was losing my mind. I was living in LA. I had a rewarding but very demanding job. I was dealing with all kinds of different people and their life challenges on a large scale. My daughter was a teenager, and we had a lot of stress in our relationship at that time. I felt like I would enter a room in our house and get ambushed by an argument that I didn't know we were having. There was tremendous stress in the relationships among my colleagues at that time as well. I was having a lot of migraines. I was absolutely exhausted all the time. It didn't matter how much I slept. I had no joy or desire to do anything, even things that I normally loved to do. No joy in spending time with any of my friends, no joy in riding my bicycle, no joy in playing music, nothing. I pushed myself to get out of bed to do anything. My thought life was a constant stream of ruminating on everything I did wrong and everything I had to worry about the next day. Marilyn Dean's on this call, and Marilyn, you might remember me calling you one day and telling you about how the demons just jumped on me as soon as my eyes were open in the morning. And I remember you saying, I will pray for you. And that was sort of my first inkling that, oh, something's really maybe not right here with me, and I need to get some help. I felt like I never had enough time, money, or resources to do what I felt like I had to do. I was regularly telling God he could take my life. I didn't have any plan to do it myself, but I told him all the time, I'm done. I am no good here. Everything I do, I mess up. Everything I touch, you can just take me today, and everybody would be better off. On the eve of a conference at work, I stayed behind one day while everyone else went ahead to this conference to register my teenager at her high school. Since I had to do that, I also offered generously to format and print out all the hundreds of pages of handouts needed for our staff conference event. I stayed up till 2 a.m., a Herculean effort for me at that time because I felt absolutely exhausted about everything. Got everything done to a standard I felt proud of. It felt like a huge victory. So 9 a.m. the next morning, I have my daughter in the car. I'm standing at the print shop in LA, ready to, with my hand extended in the credit card, ready to pay for all this printing and get in the car and go to the staff retreat. When my husband calls me from the staff conference event, where he and my colleagues have already had one full day of meetings. Don't worry about those handouts, he says. We changed everything yesterday and we're just going to do them out here. So what did I do? I screamed out loud. I turned on my heel. I left the shop. I got in the car and I cried hard, out loud, and ugly all the way to the conference event, 4 hours in the car between Los Angeles and Palm Springs. Hilariously, I had not managed to hang up my phone. Have you ever had that happen? Where you got a mobile phone and you thought you hang it up, but you didn't? So my husband heard me wailing all the way for 4 hours as I drove. So 4 hours later, when I turned into the parking lot at the conference venue, there waiting for me, leaning against a fence, was my best friend, Cece Bruce, who's 10 years younger than me, and another dear friend, the elder's wife in our church, and my colleague on staff, Gloria Baird, who's 14 years older than me. I very sheepishly got out of the car. They gave me a hug, and Gloria said to me, "You don't think this might possibly be the change, do you?" And my reaction, please don't compare your reaction to mine or mine to yours. That's not the point of this story. But I was so relieved. I remember saying to her, "You mean to tell me there's a biological reason? I'm not losing my mind." I felt such relief that, oh my gosh, there's a reason. I'm not crazy. I'm not falling away from God. I'm not falling apart. I'm not losing my mind. I was so thrilled. So that was my beginning. So to me, it was a relief, but it's very normal also to feel depressed when this realization hits that, oh my gosh, my reproductive cycle is on the way out. Because there can be so many different losses that we experience in this season of life. If you're on Zoom, I invite you to put in the chat here your brief answers to this question. What are some of the losses women face in midlife? Ivy mentioned a bunch of them. It's interesting that at this time, we've lived long enough that people start to die. People start to get sick. We start to have realizations, maybe there's some estrangements and things going on. Life is getting harder, actually, at midlife. We have teenagers, and often that's challenging. So I'm seeing death of friends, you're losing your well-being, death of parents, losing your health, losing your energy. Yep. Thank you for your comments, those of you who are on Zoom, and thank you all of you out there on Facebook Live. It's great to have you with us as well. For myself, some of the losses I'd been feeling was I had a loss of trust in myself and in some of my work colleagues. Actually, that was a huge challenge that was going on at the time. Some of them had been lifelong friends and those relationships were breaking up. I felt a loss of confidence, a loss of physical vitality, a loss of enjoyment in everything, a loss of time. I don't have any more time. My kids' childhood is gone. Opportunities for many women hit this season and they thought they would be married by now. They thought they would have kids by now. And yet here we are. And how can this possibly be that I'm at this stage and I'm not ready? That can really be tragic. Losing our youth, losing our looks, our body changes, our identity changes, my notion of beauty changes, maybe. Our memory, we're losing our memory. There's so many losses actually connected with this time of life. And so paying attention to the condition of our heart, and by heart, I mean all of it: soul, spirit, self, our mind, even our emotions. Paying attention to the condition of our heart is a hugely important part of well-being at this stage. And so I just have 3 quick talk points that I wanted to mention for us. And the first one is just that it is really an opportunity to lean in to learning, really lean into learning. I just want to share my screen here because I have a book I want to share with you. Remember when people used to read books? And gosh, can I get this to change? Here we go. I guess I'll go that way. There we go. So this book was like my Bible. I read the Bible every day, and I read this book every day for about 3 years. It's a dense, incredibly clear picture of everything that's going on in the body in the season of premenopause and menopause, and I just loved it. I loved this book. I learned so much. It kind of broke my brain a little bit, actually, because it is definitely a dense read. But I felt like I don't know anything about what's happening with me. I didn't have my mother in life. She had died years ago. I didn't know Sloan then, my sister. I didn't really have anybody to guide me. And really, I was so bad. I had spent years and years kind of pushing through and ignoring a lot of my own physical symptoms, minimizing them and pushing through. And I had to really change and start to pay attention and learn about myself, discover about myself, what's good for me, what's not good for me. And oh my goodness, I learned so many things I had no idea about. I thought my diet was good. I learned it was not. I thought I was eating enough protein. I was not. And again, as has been said already by our presenters, please don't just take anything I may be saying as a specific example for me as something that you ought to be doing. Everybody is completely unique and individual. And that is one of the challenges of this time, that we really have to study ourselves and figure ourselves out. I remember it was such an incredible discovery. I used to have these terrible night sweats. I didn't have hot flashes during the day, but my sleep would get interrupted. In the middle of the night, I'd wake up having completely soaked my pajamas and the bed sheets, everything, undergarments, everything, soaking wet with sweat because I had a night sweat. And I learned after a while that if I have sugar at night, a piece of cake, a dish of ice cream, that it would trigger that and that would happen. If I stopped doing that, it went away and I didn't have that happen. Oh my gosh, what a gift that was to learn that I actually could discover something. Now, I don't know if that'll work for you or not. I have no idea. Everybody's individual and different, but it's things like that that were just unbelievable things. That's new. That's incredibly new. I thought, in my parenting, I thought I was applying all these wonderful parenting principles that I had collected over decades, of my life and in my work. Well, guess what? I was wrong about that. I was not adequately applying them. And so those arguments that would ambush me between myself and my daughter at that time, I thought it's all her. I was wrong. I had to learn and really examine myself. Most of it was me. I thought I had no need to go back into my past and review any painful events from before. You can't change the past. What's the point of that? Right? I trust God. Everything's, the way it's supposed to be. Well, I was wrong about that too. And for me, it just was an incredible wake-up call this season of having to get to know myself, my aging self, my middle-aged self, and make peace with myself too. It was so surprising, and so rewarding, so incredibly rewarding. So leaning into learning, so important for each one of us to do that. It's such an individual, unique journey for every single one of us. Second thing I wanted to mention was it is really important to honor these losses that we've just mentioned. It is so important. Grieving what changes or what ends is really an important part of being a whole person, of building that resilience that Ivy was talking about. I had to learn that sadness is not my enemy. It's a normal and natural part of life. The heart is designed to grieve, and it needs to grieve when there's a loss. That is not how I was raised. That is not what I practiced. I practiced avoiding and pushing on. Minimize, avoid, push on. And it caught up with me. I had no idea that grief events, if we don't pay attention to them and we don't learn how to handle them and process them and complete them, they pile up, they accumulate. And what happened with me in my perimenopause time is my health broke. I collapsed. I got pneumonia. I was in bed for 6 weeks, and I had the worst symptoms for a long time of perimenopause. And my personal conviction is if I had been practicing more spiritual, emotional hygiene along the way, and if I had been paying attention to these things and not running from pain, but embracing it and completing it, I don't think I would have suffered as badly as I did. That is my personal conviction. So how do we know we need to grieve? Well, grief, first of all, is so normal and natural. Everybody has loss. Everybody has loss at this stage. There's nothing to be ashamed of. It's not, you don't need we shouldn't need a mental health professional to teach us how to manage something that's a normal and natural part of life. But unfortunately, sometimes we really do need some help, as we've said, and there's no shame in that. That's a strength to go and get help when we need it. Grief is the result of any important end or change in a familiar pattern of behavior. Well, oh my goodness, that's everything about perimenopause. Everything just changed. My whole body's changing. My mind is different. It's incredible. So what do we do? How do I take care of my heart? How do I embrace loss? Well, for me, I did not know how to take time for quiet reflection. My mind was so negative and so filled with negativity. Quiet reflection was miserable because all I did was worry about all the mistakes I made yesterday and all the stuff I have to do tomorrow that I don't know how to do. And so I needed help. It didn't help to say I just need to pray more, because I needed to get some help to change my mind. And grief recovery really helped me with that. If you journaling is really good. What should I journal about? Well, reflecting upon what's hard, not running from it, but reflecting upon it, asking yourself, what do I really feel? What do I really feel? Honestly, not minimizing it, but honestly, and then forgiving it, forgiving yourself, forgiving others. And that's a whole other webinar. What is forgiveness all about? Right, Dora Anyi, who's an expert on forgiveness, which we don't have time to get into today, but forgiveness is not about forgetting. It's not about minimizing. It's not about condoning. It is for us. It's about us gaining peace and completing the pain that we may feel because of something that's hurt us, a person or an event that's hurt us. Everybody needs to grieve. Learning how to do it would be a really valuable thing at this time of life. And so we need to honor our losses. They're real, they're valuable, they deserve our attention. And then finally, nurture our connections. It's such an incredible blessing if we can find some like-minded people, even just one, to share this journey with at this tough time. If it's a tough time for you, investing in the relationships that sustain our heart. There are lots and lots of studies over the years, and I just want to share one here. that have found that the value of relationships really impacts our well-being and our quality of life. And so I just wanted to share this quote from this study. It's the Harvard Study of Adult Development. This is a study that began in 1938 with 700, a little over 700 participants, and it's gone on now for 80 years and includes not just the original participants, many of whom have died now, but 1,300 of the original participants' descendants. And it examines every aspect of well-being. It claims to be the longest in-depth longitudinal study of human life and well-being ever done. And so what have they found? They found that the one thing that affects our well-being more than anything else, more than diet, more than exercise, more than environment, more than genetic predisposition, more than anything, is the quality of our relationships. I love this quote. I'll just read it here off this slide. If we accept the wisdom and more recently the scientific evidence that our relationships really are among our most valuable tools for sustaining health and happiness, then choosing to invest time and energy in them becomes vitally important. And an investment in our social fitness isn't only an investment in our lives as they are now. It's an investment that will affect everything about how we live in the future, our quality of life. And this book, The Good Life, basically is a layman's guide to the results of that study and the ongoing findings. It's a great read. But finding a good friend, a like-minded person that gets you, that isn't going to judge you, that you can laugh with. If you have a good relationship with your mother at this time, that's a great resource, or an older sister, an older friend. If Robin Horton is anywhere on this call or anywhere in earshot, she was my savior. She and I, we were friends in Los Angeles. We happened to go through all of this crazy stage of life at about the same time. And we were on the phone most days, most mornings, for a period of 2 to 3 years, comparing notes, moaning about how we slept or didn't slept, comparing what's going on, learning about protein and how that affects depression, and all our discoveries and all our foibles, and confessing our sin to each other and all of this stuff. And one of my happiest memories of life is at the end of all of this, we went to see Menopause the musical together. And I laughed until my side split for an hour and a half, watching exactly what we've just been through play out on stage in front of us. There's one raunchy part. So if you ever have a chance to see it, I'm not recommending necessarily, but it was such a relief. And to have my friend by my side, I think was really an essential part for both of us, really, of navigating this really difficult season of perimenopause. And I do want to say, I've been in menopause now. I had my last period about over 15 years ago. And it is really like new life. Your memory is not so bad. Energy and vitality are back. I do remember feeling like, oh my gosh, I got myself back. I'm back. What a relief. So there is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. This does not last forever, but it can really be hard for some people. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. We are about to have some time in breakout rooms together. And so I'm going to take a second here and post in the chat. Hopefully yep, it worked. Very good. So I have just posted in the chat. If you're on Zoom, you can see this. If you're on Facebook Live, you can take a break for 10 minutes. And because we're going to go into breakout rooms for 10 minutes, although there will be a breakout room in this main room. So you're welcome to enjoy and watch. But obviously we can't put you in a breakout room if you're on Facebook Live. So for the Zoom users, I'm going to open our breakout rooms, and I just have one suggestion for us when we go into our rooms. There'll be 2, maybe 3 people in a room. And my suggestion is this. Here are the questions. Let me read them out in case you can't see the chat. You can pick one of these questions, or if you have time, more. Hopefully you can see the chat from the breakout room, but let me read them to you. One thought to share about is, what has surprised you most about your experience or what you've learned regarding perimenopause or menopause so far? So what's been surprising about this? That's a thought you could discuss. Another option, question number 2, how has perimenopause or menopause affected your day-to-day life, and maybe in ways you didn't anticipate? That's another one. And the third suggestion is, what do you wish someone had told you earlier about this stage of life? What do you wish you knew before you got here? I just want to say that Dr. Gill Cruz is going to be in the main hall, and she will manage anybody that kind of gets stuck and, is having a hard time getting into their breakout rooms.
So our panel, we have Dr. Gill Cruz with us. So we've got 2 questions, and please send your questions, or people can unmute, I believe, if they want to. So the first question is, how does menopause present itself for those who have had a hysterectomy?
So that sounds like a medical one.
Yes, I was
So
going to say directed at Jill.
Yeah. So obviously having a hysterectomy means you've had your womb removed. So I guess a big plus will be you have no more periods, no heavy bleeding, which you might otherwise have had around perimenopause. It's going to depend a bit on what age you were when you had your hysterectomy, and whether your ovaries were also left behind or if they were removed at the same time, because some people will have what's called a total hysterectomy, where they take the ovaries as well. So even if your ovaries are left behind, if you've had your hysterectomy at a younger age, sometimes it disrupts the blood supply, and you may find that you go through an earlier menopause than you would have done anyway. But of course, if you do still have conserved ovaries, you should still have some estrogen for some time. So hopefully you wouldn't get the symptoms too early. But then when you start to get the symptoms that have been mentioned, the physical ones, the psychological ones, so the typical sort of vasomotor symptoms, the hot flushes, the typical one that everyone hears about, all of those symptoms can still happen, of course. But the big key thing is you don't have the issues around bleeding. Also, if you had been thinking about wanting hormone replacement therapy, it's a lot simpler if you've had your womb removed, because you're able to have estrogen on its own. And there's now a much safer form of estrogen which you can have and continue to have for quite a long time without all the associated risks that there were with the older synthetic estrogens. And so if you start HRT, particularly the estrogen, at an earlier age, so under 60, or if it's within 10 years of your menopause, then it actually has a lot of other health benefits. And there seems to be a lot of evidence that it does actually prolong life. It reduces your risks of heart disease and stroke and dementia, which are all the big sort of killers for women. And there was a lot of concern, obviously, around breast cancer and HRT for a long time. Estrogen does not increase your risk of breast cancer. And it's the progestogen part of HRT which you might need to protect your womb if you still have a womb, which again, the newer progestogens, which are body similar, so they're very similar to our natural hormones. The risks again are a lot less. So there's been a lot of misinformation around HRT. And I would certainly encourage women, if you're having symptoms, to have a discussion with a medical professional, your doctor or practice nurse. There's also a fantastic charity called the Menopause Society, and they have a lot of information for women, just general information, and obviously can also answer questions around that you might have around HRT or any symptoms that you're suffering. Sorry, that was a bit of a long answer to what happens if you had a hysterectomy.
No, thank you. That there was additional information that I'm sure we all benefited from. Thank you so much, Jill. That was awesome. Okay, so we've got a second question here. I think that this would probably be directed at Tammy. Can you explain sleep hygiene again? Someone's asking.
Oh, I think that was Ivy that was talking
Ah,
about
was it
sleep.
Ivy? Yeah, was it? Okay, sorry. Ivy, can you take this?
Sorry. Yes. So sleep hygiene is just a set of almost like a routine on how to optimize your sleep. So when I'm working with young people, a lot of them have low mood and depression, and it's caused by the fact that they're up all night playing games, maybe scrolling on their phones, so they don't have optimal sleep. For us, it could be that you know, we're finding it hard to sleep. So the thing that we reach for is our phones, which doesn't help. So it's being able to having a good sleep hygiene is being able to recognize the things that have a knock-on effect on your sleep and lessening those things. So things like charging your phones downstairs, not having stimulants before bed, creating a good bedtime routine, like having a really nice shower, calming shower, not having any blue light like an hour before bed, those kind of things. But with sleep hygiene, it's not one, you know, fit for all. You have to kind of develop that yourself and see what works for you. So something that I like to do is just put like a candle on, dim the lights, and just, you know, listen to like some classical music or something. Sometimes I listen to some really old jazz, you know, that works for me. So sometimes it's just playing around and seeing what works for you. And then that's your sleep hygiene routine.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Someone says you can also Google sleep hygiene for lots of helpful tips.
Yeah.
So thank you, Ivy. Okay, now we've got another one. Yeah, probably Tammy. Are there any signs that menopause is over? Do you even move on from it?
Yes, you move on from it. But and maybe Jill can speak with this to this too, but aging, of course, doesn't stop. I mean, it is a natural part of women's aging. And so the aging doesn't stop. But I can, I guess, just share from my own brief experience here, and then maybe Jill can jump in. But I definitely felt like I got my life back. But
Wow.
I really needed to make some changes. It didn't, as I said earlier, I think I made it harder on myself for lots of reasons. I think there were many things I was not prepared for this stage of life, not emotionally, not physically, and not spiritually. And so it hit me hard. But I can tell you that after making the changes, for example, it took me, one of the things, I went to a holistic doctor and they said, well, sleep, proper food, which I thought I was doing, but I wasn't, and regular exercise. And it took me from the time I decided, hardline decided to make the changes that, you know, I was convinced I needed to make. It took me 3 years of trying to even, you know, see any improvement. But then it started to really, like I said, I woke up one day and I was like, oh, I'm back. Oh my gosh, thank God I'm back. You know, so yes, it does. There is relief. Jill, do you want to add to that?
So I guess the medical sort of terminology around menopause, so there's different stages. So you've got obviously premenopause, so they're the years before menopause symptoms occur. Perimenopause, and the average age in the UK is around 45. And that's when symptoms can start, but you're still having periods. But the periods might start to change as Sloan was telling us earlier. They can become erratic, they can become heavy, irregular. Then there's the menopause, where you have no period for 12 months. And then after those 12 months, so once you look back and have no periods for 12 months, you're then regarded as post-menopause. Now, if you're under the age of 50, so if you're going through menopause younger, it's regarded as you need 2 years of no periods. But if you're 50 or over, a whole year of no periods, that's your menopause. And then after that is the post-menopause. Now, it doesn't mean all the symptoms are suddenly going to stop because you're post-menopause. We know that, and we've been hearing so much from everyone that everyone's journey is unique and different. And sadly, and this is thankfully very few, but with ladies in their 80s and 90s can still have some symptoms. There may be other women on the other end of the scale have no symptoms and they absolutely just sail through it. So it's so different. But yes, I suppose most women will go through menopause after the age of 50. So after that 12 months of no periods, then you're into your post-menopause phase.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Jill. That's really, really helpful. Okay, we've got another one. This says, how do you find time and space to honor and work through your losses, maybe Tammy, when life is still hectic, aging parents, kids are young adults, work, etc. And it also feels very emotional and scary to address some of these losses.
Yep, I empathize. You're right. The number one reason why people don't deal with grief and loss is fear, really. And also, I think a lack of knowing how. I certainly had no idea. I was afraid, and I also had no idea how. So a framework can help, just taking, making that decision that you are doing a good thing by staring the demon in the face, the hard feelings, the sad things, and processing them. If you praying honestly to God and actively releasing them. There's a lot of really good, Ivy can speak to this probably, the idea of naming the pain, the emotion, and then reframing. It changes our brain makeup. We start to take control, and it's very empowering for us. We're not run then by our emotions and our anxieties when we can learn how to do that. But definitely therapy, grief recovery, getting help, a good friend, those are all, but taking the time to, there's so many good studies also just about taking the time to meditate every day. In our Christian faith, we don't empty our minds, we fill our minds with God's word, with gratitude, and also making time for this kind of a thing too, talking to God about the hard things and then releasing them. Forgiveness is part of the healing, and it's so important.
Okay, thank you, Tammy. Thank you.
And Jill wants
Jill.
to comment.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, just adding on to that, I love the analogy of the oxygen mask. On the plane when they say, you must put your mask on first before you help anyone else. And I guess most of us here on the call have got so many different jobs we're juggling, whether it's work, family, children, aging parents, all of the above. And we have to look after ourselves, because otherwise we won't. And I'm the worst at this, so don't do what I say, not what I do. But I think we all know this, that we have to take care of ourselves, or we will not be able to take care of the people that need us. And it might just be a few minutes a day, just to decompress, just to sit and take some deep breaths, listen to some quiet music, pray, meditate. But I think we somehow have to find that little bit of time. I don't think it necessarily has to be a long time, but something that we know and it will be personal to us. And, maybe a hobby. It might be a time in our lives we need to sort of resurrect some hobbies that we used to have. Was it Deo said she's been doing some painting of cards? How wonderful is that? And of course, drawing art is a form of therapy. I'm terrible at art, Deo. I wish I could do that.
Don't
But
worry
I love music.
about it.
My dream is to take up my guitar again and try and start playing again, you know. So I think we all need to start doing something, and we, you know, we can do it in a way that glorifies God. We don't have to be selfish about it, but yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was amazing. Okay. I don't see any more questions in the chat, not unless anyone else wants to unmute.
Can I just say something very quickly?
Yeah,
Sorry, Dora.
sure.
I think it was Irene who asked the question about working through grief. So in the South Side, we have the grief journey. I don't know if Amel's still on this call, but it's a journey. I think it's 6 to 8 weeks. So we meet once a week. There's a journal that we follow, a book that we follow, and we do it in a group. So it's I did it myself for my dad, and it was really, really helpful. It's just once a week. So something like that could be really helpful, because I know the thing that you mentioned was time, finding the time. But I think like an hour a week, I think most of us could manage that. So if that might be something that, you know, you'd be interested in, I can always drop you a text message maybe after this, just to let you know a bit more about that.
Yeah, thanks, Ivy, for that. And the grief journey, I recommended way back. But Tammy also offers, Tammy Fleming on the call, she offers actually sessions. So, Tammy, if you want to put your information on the chat as well, that would be helpful. But yes, you know, by all means. I don't know if
I just Sure. I just want to say it's a grief journey, grief recovery, great frameworks. Sometimes we just need, you know, a framework, and a group is a really great area.
Yeah.
A great way to, you know, as Ivy was saying, an hour a week, you know, although there is some personal homework. So yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. So
Thank you. All right, Tammy, hand it back to you.
great.
Let's see if there's anything else.
Can I just pick up? There was a comment
Yes.
about HRT again.
Yes.
Someone, Donna, who had a hysterectomy and
I missed that.
where was it? I don't know if you're having symptoms, Donna, but certainly, as I was saying, estrogen, if you've had a hysterectomy, for most people who've had a hysterectomy, they don't need progestogen to protect the lining of the womb. It would depend a bit on why you had the hysterectomy. So if, for example, you've had severe endometriosis and there's a risk there might be little pockets of endometrial tissue elsewhere in the pelvis, then it might be a slightly more complicated situation. But if it's a total hysterectomy, so there's no, and there wasn't any other medical issue, having estrogen is very safe. And it's now regarded, women of any age can have it. So even if you're over 60, there has to be a little bit more care with the dosing and so forth. But transdermal, so going through the skin, estrogen is very safe. And so if you're having symptoms, I would certainly urge you to talk to your GP or practice nurse. Often the practice nurses are very good at dealing with HRT. So yeah, but if you're suffering, please do talk to somebody, because it could really make a difference for you.
Right. Okay. Gill, I don't know if you've seen the one about the brand name of HRT with less side effects.
Well, I can't think off the top of my head. There's gels now. There's like an estrogen gel or sprays, which you may have heard of. Basically, it's the transdermal ones that are safe, going through the skin. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a brand, but you'll
send that on.
Yeah, but they tend to use, as I say, you used to hear about patches, but they're sort of out of vogue now because they're not as safe as the newer treatments, which come in gel form or gel or spray. Also, of course, a lot of people suffer in the genital urinary passages. Lots of urine infections or soreness down below, and vaginal estrogen is very, very safe. And so again, that's something which you might want to talk to your health providers about. You can even buy it now across the counter, but vaginal estrogens can even be used alongside other HRT, so you can use the two together. But that quite a lot of women suffer in terms of, you know, their intimacy because they're sore, and that can be very easily treated. So you know, again, and it's, as I said, it's very, very safe. You can even women who have had breast cancer could have that. I mean, obviously with the guidance of their specialist team. But yeah, no, it's something to consider as well.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much, Jill, for that. I could see something on, don't think we've addressed this. Maybe you could do another session on diet. I think this was referring to Tammy. I always thought Tammy ate really healthy. So if she didn't, Lord help me, how did you change? It's
Yeah. We are actually out of time, but
yes. We
but
need
I'm
another
seeing
session.
we do, and we said we would. We'll do another one. If you we'll answer your questions. And if you didn't get an answer to your question and you would love one, I've put my my email in the chat
Email.
here,
Yeah.
Tammy at missionstory.com. That's really easy to remember. If you want to just send me an email and we will make sure you get your answer. And also, if you'd like a copy of this recording, send me a quick note and we will get you a copy of the recording as well. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. And we just want to say, as we say goodbye, we wish you to mature like the trees around us. Did you know that the trees they actually grow better and stronger as they grow older? Did you know that? Some people
Wow.
say the trees are the lungs of the earth, right? And I think it's so cool that the trees, through photosynthesis, they absorb CO2 and they release oxygen, kind of the opposite of what humans do as they breathe. And I also think it's very cool. Spirit in the Bible, pneuma in Greek, ruach in Hebrew, is like breath, is like wind. And everywhere God shows up in the Bible, it's been noted by a couple of authors, there's always a tree. So anyway, trees, there's a reason our attention should be on trees, right? And they do actually, as they age, they grow in girth, they grow stronger, they grow more resilient, and they actually grow more wise because they they learn actually how to preserve their resources better. So may we age and grow like the great
Amen.
old oaks in the forest and whatever your favorite tree might be. But thank you for being here. May God bless you all.
Thank you,
Thank
For taking
you.
care of us.
Good
Thank
night,
you,
everyone.
Take care.
Thanks for the
Thanks, Dora.
recording.
Thanks, Sybil. Thank
Set
you,
the recording.
Ivy.
Thank you. Love you
Take care.
all.
Take care.
Love you.
Thank you. Night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Really good
Bye.
discussion. Thank you so much. Really good discussion. Very helpful.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks
Thank
for being here,
Fantastic.
everybody.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Great job, everybody. Thank you, Ivy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Jill.
Thank you so much.
Tammy. Thank you,
Thank you,
Tammy.
Tammy.
Thank you,
Yeah, thank you,
Jill.
Dora.
Thank you.
Thank
Great
you,
you.
Ivy.
job.
Where's
Bye,
Ivy?
Dora.
Amazing.
Thank
Bye.
Oh, there's
Bye.
Ivy.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Wow. To God be the glory. Definitely we need
Amen.
another one.
Yes.
We definitely need to do another one.
Have to get
Amen.
Claudine on the next one.
Yes, no, she's all ready actually.
Good, good, good.
Yes.
Good, good, good.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Tammy.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Great to
Bye,
see
Tammy.
everyone. Thanks for
Good
joining.
night. Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.